Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of the Facade Focused podcast, where I aim to connect the global facade industry by sharing knowledge and experience for others to learn from. Over the coming weeks, I'll be interviewing leaders and industry experts across the globe to discuss common problems people are facing and explore the innovative solutions that will help you in your learning journey. This week, I'm interviewing the co-founder of Robotics, Mr. Conley Oster. He's a structural engineer by trade, a former crane and rigging specialist, and once worked on iPad manufacturing lines for Apple. Now, he's building field-deployed robots that are changing how we install facades on buildings, focusing on safety, speed, and quality. His company, Robotics, is already working with industry leaders in construction, bringing real automation to one of the riskiest parts of the job site. Now we get into problems he's trying to solve in the facade industry, what sparked the idea for Robotics, and how they're already having an impact on job sites across the US. Conley's pretty active on LinkedIn, so go and check him out, follow his work, and join the conversation. Now, quick shout out to our sponsors of the podcast, which is Architectural Glass and Aluminum, otherwise known as AGA. They're a leader in custom curtain wall systems and have been providing tailored glazing solutions for over 55 years. More impressively, they're one of the largest employee-owned businesses in the glazing industry across the US and have a phenomenal team that buys into their ethos of collaboration and craftsmanship. I'm delighted to have them as a partner of the pod, so a big shout out to the team over there. In the meantime, let's get into this week's episode of the Facade Focus podcast with Mr. Conley Oster. Conley Oster, welcome to Facade Focus podcast. Good to have you.
Thank you, Tom. Happy to be here.
Absolutely. Well, I've given you a bit of an introduction already, but in typical Facade Focus fashion, I will give you the floor to tell us a little bit about where you come from and what you're doing right now.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm one of the co-founders of Robotics. My background's in the construction industry. Was working in the crane and rigging industry for about 5 years as a structural engineer, salesperson, kind of did everything, wore a lot of hats in industry, really loved being in crane and rigging. I think as with any specialty sub, every day is different. It's very dynamic. You get to see a lot of things that others don't. And you get to solve new problems every single day. So very exciting to be in industry. I'm thankful for my time in industry. Before going into crane and rigging, I was working at Apple as a manufacturing engineer.
Cool.
So obviously quite different than construction. But I definitely liked construction a lot more.
Yeah.
And then
very cool.
Yeah. So just kind of how, I guess, additional information on how we started the company. So being in industry, something that stuck with me was just, you got to do everything to ensure crew safety. It's a hard job and being out in the field, and it's not fair that guys have to worry about their safety, especially when it's coming from, a project engineer, project manager that's trying to save a couple bucks and get things done more quickly. And that's when I met my co-founder, Gary, in I think it was January of 2021, kind of in the thralls of COVID.
Wow.
Yes, he had reached out to me. His background's in the autonomous vehicle industry, working as a software engineer at Waymo.
Cool.
So he knew kind of what automation was capable of. I did not. I think anyone in construction's probably seen quite a few, new and exciting technologies get tested, piloted, and then thrown out. And I think, it's challenging to adopt new construction when you don't have time to do it. And I think that's where construction's very different. So we did about a year of use case studies trying to see, how we could apply his learnings in the AV industry to different types of on-site installations. We were primarily focused on just kind of what my Rolodex provided. So that was a lot of people in the heavy civil industry, looking at bridge girder installations, looking at wind farm and wind turbine installations. And then we started talking to some of my facade customers at the time. Once we got to Facade, it was kind of like a big eye-opening moment for us, where we realized, this is an application with mass standardization in the market already. There's, not that many facade manufacturers, not that many component deviations that are actually in the field. So it made it a good jump off point for robots, and the customer demand was there just given the high quality requirements of commercial facades. So
Yeah.
that's where we company.
Did you have an aha moment? Was there like a point where you would, it just sort of all opened up in front of you?
I would say it was when we were talking to an early customer, and we started going down a rabbit hole of how to track fasteners on site. There had been a pretty consistent complaint with we order 200 boxes of Hilti fasteners and we're missing 10 boxes by the end of the project. How do we track this down? And coming from an outside perspective, outside of Facade, I mean, I'm under the assumption that there's hundreds of types of different fasteners used to actually get your facade panels on. And they were saying no, if we run out, sometimes we'll even call our competitors and then just see if they have extra fasteners. And that's when there was an aha moment where it's standardized enough that people are actually willing to call a competitor since they're using the same component. That was definitely an aha moment for entering the market for us.
Wow. And tell us the mission of the company. So you've talked about your business partner who came from Waymo, which is autonomous vehicles, taxis essentially.
Yeah.
So he's software and automation and the obviously come from that side of the industry, and you've helped him break ground into the construction element and really leaning on your clearly your engineering. And didn't know that you did that spell at Apple though, so that's interesting. Was that a short time? Was that a year, couple of years? Yeah.
Not even. I made it about 6 months. It was a post grad internship. I got a full time opportunity out of it, but it was handling the manufacturing lines for the iPad in Shenzhen. So at Foxconn, traveling to China every 2 weeks, being there for 2 weeks.
Wow.
I'm not sure if you're familiar with Foxconn or have heard anything about it. Don't want to badmouth them, but I will say most things aren't true that you hear about it. It made it really hard to justify paying the $3,000 a month in San Francisco housing if I'm only there 50% of the time.
Yeah. No, makes no sense, does it? Well, now here you are. So good call on that one. So tell us the mission of the business. What are you trying to do?
Yeah. At the end of the day, it's just improve the lives of today's construction workers and help bring in kind of the next generation of construction workers. Everyone, I'm sure, is well aware of what we're facing as an industry right now. It's a labor shortage, and it's not just one that people market for a slide deck or for investment. I think everyone's actually gotten to a point where collectively across the board, every customer that we've talked to, it is top of mind where there's been no slowdown in market demand for their projects. Obviously, there's differing kind of types of projects that are, more popular than others for the time being. But just staffing the projects, getting them done within budget and meeting the quality requirements for it, it's just going to continue to get harder. And we've seen, our customers kind of struggle with that to date. So what we're ultimately hoping to accomplish with Raise Robotics is, providing smart equipment that allows you to do more with less, ensure the safety of your teams on site, and ensure production rates as you estimated them before construction started.
Brilliant. No, that's great. Thanks for the rundown on that. And I think we'll get into the specifics of what it does when we talk about the problem and the solution. And obviously more into the solution side is when we'll start to learn what you guys are doing, what sort of area you're trying to attack, and how that not only benefits you guys, but also, speed, quality, safety, all of the above. So nice little segue into highlighting the problem that you've seen in the industry. So talk to us a little bit about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there's a couple problems that automation definitely help out with. Again, just labor scarcity and not necessarily diminishing market demand. I mean, the need for buildings is at an all-time high. It's going to continue to grow, and it's kind of a triple point that's juxtaposed with diminishing labor supply. So labor rates go up doesn't necessarily mean that your quality of labor delivered is getting better. And I think, there's a huge opportunity right now for automation, especially, unstructured environment automation. In, the last 10, 15 years, or I'd say 15 years prior, you couldn't pull a robot out of the factory and have it work in the field and do anything meaningful. I mean,
Sure.
construction's so dynamic. Things are very rarely where they're supposed to be. So that's one of the problems for kind of traditional agnostic automation making it to the field. But with advancements in autonomous vehicles and I would say mass commoditization of automation components, decreased prices for components, you can actually prototype and test things cost effectively, and you can do it within your college dorm most of the times.
Yeah.
So there's a huge opportunity to help the labor supply problem and allow contractors to do more with limited resources, but also at the same time ensure the safety of their resources. And that is kind of our top priority, is just making people's lives better. If you can make someone's lives better, why wouldn't you? That's kind of our approach to the whole statement. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 100%. And have you, interesting piece, you're obviously, you came to the market trying to solve one problem. Did you then go out and start, obviously you've been involved in live projects now. Did you start to uncover more problems as you're involved in the projects that you didn't realize beforehand, or was it pretty much as you expected?
No, I think, it's still construction. It's dynamic. You can plan for every variable that you anticipate seeing, or, you can hypothesize where you think you're valuable, where your value is actually going to come with your system. But until you start doing field deployments, you're not really going to understand the entire problem or the entire value being added to customers. So, with us on site, the robot's constantly gathering data. We didn't even understand that, just gathering passive data on site with our installations was something, an installer would find valuable. And it's just information that we were more or less just throwing out. So when we were doing kind of the bracket installations on a project, we showed the customer, what's being generated. It's the concrete in and out, concrete up and down, and then juxtaposing where it's supposed to be versus what it's actually seeing on site. Didn't realize it until we had that conversation with the customer and walked through all the data, but it was like, okay, we're actually, we're completing an as-built inspection while we're installing. And the customer immediately was like, well, we can pre-adjust panels before they even make it to site with that information. So
wow,
we can hang and bang all these panels out and not have to do the XYZ adjustments for the 5 or 10 minutes on the hook, and really compress our installation schedule for the panels themselves.
Wow.
So I'll say there's been quite a few nice value adds that, again, didn't understand until we had robots in the field, until we were actually working closely with the customers in the field.
And have you been able to quantify things like time saving from these projects you've been on?
Yes, I will say the time and cost savings are pretty relative. It depends on, what type of customer you're comparing yourself against.
Sure.
With our layout speeds, we're typically 2 to 3 times faster. And then with the entire end-to-end solution, we typically like to think about it instead of, a direct apples to apples comparison. Instead of having 4 to 6 guys doing your layout, your bracket installation and inspections, it's one guy in the robot right now. So
wow,
it's 50% oversight. And obviously, it's maintaining that same production rate between a 6-man crew and between one person that's only passively overseeing the robot. So I think that's the best way to compare, the total end-to-end production offering, how to actually analyze, production rate returns. So yeah, it has been good, and it's only continued to get better. So we did our first, we did 2 floors within 1 week just doing layout, which was pretty exceptional for us.
Yeah.
And we're really only scratching the surface as far as optimizations for the machine. I think we can easily, put a pretty significant multiplier on top of where we're at now. It's probably going to be around like the 5x speed improvement. So
wow,
very excited with where it's going.
And on your roadmap, when do you expect to get to 5x on speed?
I think probably by the end of this summer. I'm not sure when the podcast is going out, but
wow,
yes, it's moving quickly. I think for any startup, obviously, you want to focus on quality first before speed. Well,
Yep.
I would say
Yeah,
safety, quality, speed is the
Yep.
right way to approach it. We've knocked out kind of the quality aspect, and now it's just about just optimizing our system, optimizing, our motion plans to operate more quickly.
And that is purely speed in the software, the robot, not necessarily to do with the human that's actually overseeing either operating or maintaining it. It's actually in the system itself.
Exactly. And I mean, most of it's just, ramping up the arm planing speed to a relatively normal speed that would be used in manufacturing.
Yeah.
But obviously, you want to focus on quality first, remove those edge cases and attack the edge cases first before you start speeding things up. Also, safety is a huge aspect of this. You don't want something moving at 100% machine speed if you're not 100% confident in how it's moving. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Safety and accuracy, I imagine, is, as you said, top of mind first. Then you can dial in the speed as and when that.
exactly.
Yeah, that's optimized. Very cool. Well, off topic. With this early stage adoption, so I imagine that the companies that you've worked with so far, you didn't really have any. They'll have been taking a bit of a leap of faith and helping you sort of figure it out as you go. The benefit for them is they're getting to work with it at early stages and see how it works and potentially do a second, third project pretty quickly before anyone's tried their first. So, benefit both sides. But you must have had some pushback. You must have had some pushback on certain things. Where did you see was the biggest objections or the hurdles that you really had to jump over to get this on site and to get people bought into that this is the future?
Yeah, I always say construction, it's a show me industry, it's not a tell me industry. I think there's a lot of technology companies that enter construction with no construction background and just assume that you can, they can force feed you a product and you're going to have to adopt it. They'll promise you X, Y, and Z, but it doesn't necessarily deliver it. So for us, it's always been, it's got to be demonstrable value added. So before we would start a large project, we do a small demo project. We'd have contractors at our office, show them, what it looks like, what it's like to work with it, what it's good at, and then being very forthcoming about, what it's not great at. I mean, automation is not kind of a blanket solution for every problem. There's definitely ways to improve before automation, but there are some applications that are fantastic for automation. So early on, I would say there's significantly more pushback. Obviously, no one wants to be the first for adopting new technology. Everyone wants to be a close second.
Yeah.
But I think there's a right group of people to help you up front and be the first people to test it out. So very thankful for our early partners that, gave us a look and gave us an opportunity. I mean, it's high risk both ways in the initial deployments. But, they were also the ones that provided the best feedback and now have their fingerprints on how our product's been developed and kind of our path forward. So it's been more tailor-made to their needs because they're willing to take a chance.
Yeah, it's shaping it for how they work, I imagine, which again is the benefit of doing it. So no, good for them, good for you. Looking at the, before we dive into all the solutions and outcomes and all that sort of good stuff, the labor on site. So at the moment with the person that's operating it, are you taking someone around with the machine and they sort of follow the machine around? Are you placing the machine at these sites and then you find someone that can do that or train someone? How's that working for, I'm thinking of companies that may want to adopt this. How does that work?
Yeah. So obviously, in order to execute kind of bare rental operations, you need to make sure that it's usable for the customer. Our product has not always been usable. I'll be very forthcoming with that as well. I mean, the operators are, masters students from all the tier 1 robotics colleges around the world.
Yeah.
So big focus in the last 3 months for us is integration of the tablet UI and just a no-code interface for operators. So you don't need a CS degree to actually get it to do something.
Yeah.
Also, availability of kind of manual operation mode on the robot as well. So if you want to just do your own thing, use it as a piece of equipment, you can do that as well on the UI right now.
Right.
But sorry, a little bit of a tangent, circling back. Right now, we're primarily focused on providing operators with the robots and then executing the customer handoff, bare rentals, as well as enterprise lease agreements later this summer. So late July, we partnered with IUPAT for a Train the Trainer series, and that's going to be our first certification program alongside IUPAT. After that, we'll be transitioning a lot of our customers to customer supervised operations and providing crew training for typically their layout guys on site. That's been the most successful that we've seen as far as an operator role spec. It works with the total station. It's honestly the exact same process as setting up, primary control on the project now, getting points down. Instead of having a reflector manually, you just have the robot intercepting your laser and actually putting the points down or completing the installations.
Very cool. And then looking at a particular size of project, I'll let you pick it so you can give the example. How many robots would someone need? You pick the size of the building, maybe one that you've done before. How many robots would they need on site? And, are they operating at the same time? Is it, gives a bit of an insight into what a sort of a project workflow looks like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Number of robots, it's dictated just kind of off your deliverable date. I mean, we work backwards from where you want the handoff to happen. And also depends on the scope of work you want us completing on the project. Since they are, multi-use robots, we can stagger robots across different floors and actually, complete the entire building in one go. So we could be doing layout marking, having the bracket installation robot, maybe a couple floors beneath it or working in front of it. And then, we're also working on some caulking attachments. So being able to actually finish after the panels have been installed and have that robot working beneath the panel installers. It just, again, it depends on the project when you need it wrapped up. Traditionally, we'll typically send 2 robots per project, but we just wrapped up a 16-floor project with 1 robot and didn't have any issues with production rates, still maintained less than a week per floor.
Great. And what do you see as being sort of coming back to the solution? I know we've looked at the problems here of, safety, quality, speed, diminishing talent pool for site field operations in our industry. What do you see as the number one solution? And I know we're talking about safety, quality, speed here, but the number one solution that you guys provide that solves this, ongoing problem that we've had for I don't know how many years.
Yeah, I think with the field robots we have right now, it doesn't even matter what scope of work they're doing, whether it's the layout, the bracket installation, drilling, etc. It's the ability to remove risk from your day-to-day operations using the field robot. I think that's the kind of the primary value add to our operations and to our customer teams. I mean, if you can remove risk entirely, why wouldn't you? Especially if you're not changing the process or making it more cumbersome to work around. Having the robots able to work from behind edge guarding, complete edge work with the operator not having to set up safety systems the whole time, it makes it much quicker operationally for a lot of our customers, and the guys like it a lot more. You're not laying on your stomach or on your hands and knees the entire day. Robots doing the hard work. You're just kind of monitoring it, and if you need to take over and make any adjustments, you can do that as well, but still from the safety of within the building's edge guarding.
Yeah, absolutely. And is it for you guys, is it mainly the glazing contractor that needs to approve this? Does it go further up the chain with the different project stakeholders?
No, so I would say it falls like kind of just within the means and methods clauses of being a subcontractor on the project. It's just a piece of equipment. It's the exact same process as getting like a spider crane on your project or just picking something up from United Rentals. It is, I would say, easy, but we also do go ahead and reach out to the general contractors on the project, because it is, it's something valuable you're bringing to their project as well. You're reducing risk to the general contractor on the project having it. You're ensuring quality. And something else we've noticed with the robot, if there's any discrepancies between customer provided drawing sets and general contractor provided drawing sets, the robot catches that immediately. And it's helpful to both parties to know that information. Same goes with the concrete slab inspections. If your concrete's out of tolerance, it's nice to already kind of have that communication established with the general contractor. Makes the tough conversations a little bit easier to have. But yeah, we typically, we sell direct subs, but we do engage the general contractors just to keep them aware. I think back to my time in the crane and rigging industry. We had like a 265-ton crane show up, and the site superintendent didn't know it was showing up. And that's only got like 5 trucks of counterweight or something. But it shut down the job site. He wasn't aware of it. And, it just makes me laugh thinking back on that, where, what if you just had a robot show up and general contractor's not aware, your super's not aware what's going on? It can lead to a tough start. We do, we cross the T's, dot the I's on communication before we start.
Good to get off on the right foot. For sure. And is this, I say as far as it goes, obviously I imagine the opportunities for you guys are endless, but in the glazing industry, is this where you see all of your opportunities and you just want to, stay an inch wide and go a mile deep here? Do you see, other opportunities on the construction site where, maybe you don't have to develop a completely different robot, but the same, the same robot could act on multiple subcontractors' behalf?
Absolutely. Yeah. We are focused on, I would say, going an inch wide, a mile deep first. I think staying in one industry segment just keeps you from getting too fragmented. Customer requests, for the most part, are very consistent for us right now. Even if we are applying the same technology to other verticals, there's bound to be some new customer requests that pop up. So we'd like to kind of just see this opportunity all the way through, penetrate the market as much as possible before extending. But with that said, I'm actively talking to, other verticals within commercial construction, and looking at also some horizontal construction opportunities. Some of the tools I would say are more well catered for, other verticals within construction, especially with the hammer drill that we've just integrated. So now we're talking to some MEP contractors for hanger installations, overhead work, wall penetrations, ground penetrations. There's a lot of applications outside of just the facade market for sure, but very limited resources still. So we need to keep the blinders on and see it through.
Yeah, absolutely. And then looking at geography, obviously, US based, scaling across the US, got your first projects under your belt, partnering with IUPAT. What's the bigger picture in terms of this being able to be applied abroad in international markets such as, I'm thinking Europe, the Middle East, Asia, where there may, different regulations, different cultures for adopting these sort of things. What's in your mind at the moment? What does that look like? This episode is brought to you by Architectural Glass and Aluminum, otherwise known as AGA. Looking for a trusted glazing partner? AGA has been working alongside industry leaders for over 55 years, providing reliable and high-quality glazing solutions. Specializing in Class A office buildings, hospitals, airports, and higher education, AGA creates custom curtain wall systems tailored to your project needs. With a focus on collaboration and craftsmanship, AGA is here to support your next project. So visit aga-ca.com to learn more about their services and capabilities. That's aga-ca.com. Now back to this week's episode.
Yeah. It'll be here, I think, sooner than I'd initially anticipated. So we are looking at, moving forward with our CE certification and expanding into the European markets within the next year. We have been getting a lot of customer interest out of that market segment. But I think, looking internationally, the value adds for every, region are slightly different. And that is kind of, circling back to your point about just culture. I mean, construction culture around the world is completely different on which regions you're in. I mean, there's some that are going to value, their worker safety a lot more than others, and it's just going to strictly be an ROI calculation for them. So still focused primarily on deploying, in these markets that it's worker safety first, since that is our mission right now. And for the future. But yeah, it's going to be coming quickly. And I think, you look at the European market, that's, I'll say, a little bit further ahead as far as sustainability goes. And there's a larger focus on building retrofits. And, with the integration of the hammer drill attachment on a robot, the ability to place anchors if needed. I mean, that's an opportunity that we're very excited about, is starting to get more into retrofits and outside of just primarily new build.
Interesting. So how does that work on a retrofit then?
Yeah, I mean, our thought right now, after the panels have been removed, you're going to need new anchors. Most of these are just drilled in place anchors that are being placed. And with, the robot's ability to work accurately and work safely, especially around unstructured environments that might not have, accurate plans for the actual conditions. I think that's always an issue with retrofits. But, as long as we have control points established, we can get things placed in the right spot for your new facade systems that are going on the building. I think this is also going to be a much more sizable opportunity for us. Probably at the end of this year, we are integrating a subsurface scanner. So being able to scan for rebar and PT and then work around it to complete these connections, or ingest that information, provide you with that information up front for the facade designs. So you know exactly where you can anchor, where you can't anchor, and then the robot's able to work off that.
Wow. That's huge.
We'll see.
Yeah.
I think I'm very excited about it. I think as far as all of our tools go, that's the one tool I'm most excited about.
Yeah, 100%. And I imagine, when you look at retrofit and, that market segment on its own, I imagine a market like New York would be pretty big for you guys, with the local laws and, the need to upgrade those buildings, historical architecture that, needs upgrading to meet code. And obviously that's a moving target as well. So yeah, wow, if that opens up, that'd open up a completely new market for you apart from just new build, wouldn't it? So I imagine that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, very excited about that. And it also really unlocks kind of horizontal construction, roadway construction as well for us. So still be the same robot, just new industry, new applications. But I think that's what excites me a lot about just our platform and the way we've approached kind of construction automation, providing a lot of flexibility. Investors don't love that when you tell them I want to, conquer the world with all the tools.
Yeah.
Just sounds like a lot of capital.
Yeah. Open the checkbook up.
Exactly. I think if you're calculated in the way that you take on new applications and you do focus on one market segment, like we're focusing on facades, it allows you to attack and conquer the world with all of the tools that you want.
Yeah, I think you get a deeper understanding of what the market wants and what the market needs as well. If you're just in that one vertical, obviously commercial construction, you're going to be talking to the GCs and the similar trades because your robot is on site where they're all on site. So you obviously just by being on the project, you're going to have those conversations anyway. But being an inch wide, mile deep, just understanding your niche gives you endless opportunities. Was the retrofit, was that a planned move, or did you sort of plan to figure out the technology, how to work that out, and then it became apparent that that's then a use case for retrofit? Or was it, we need to figure out how to get into the retrofit market, and very intentional?
No, I would say, most of our product development, it's it's largely dictated from the customers. I mean, we'll put in, what we think is a good idea. I mean, it's the same way we started the company. You got to hypothesize and then test your hypothesis with customers. So
Yeah.
we'd always, float these ideas to a customer and see if this is something that would add value to your operations. And allows us to, obviously gain more knowledge on what is valuable, what isn't valuable, and what they're struggling with on their retrofits for the time being. Um, it's definitely something that we're focused on just because of the sustainability push. I mean, it's not going to go away. And
No.
I mean, looking at the European markets right now, and then, like you said, with the New York City markets and a lot of those older cities in the United States, I'm actually we're starting to see a lot more retrofits than I'd ever seen in years past. So it's
Yeah.
going to be a trend that continues, and there are a whole slew of new problems to solve. And I think automation does solve a lot of those nicely, especially for as-built data collection and then being able to work with that information. I mean, those are all challenges with old projects. You're not getting documents, fresh drawing submittals or shop drawings for a building that's, I mean, even 30, 40 years old, you're
Yeah.
struggling to come up with any information on them.
Yeah. No, that's super valuable. Exciting as well. Now, I imagine, it's step by step, isn't it? It's go and do the next bit, move on to the next bit. And it still sounds like you're dialing in. I think the exciting bit for you guys clearly is that you're still dialing in, actually optimizing this first type of project that you're doing. And there's still so much that can be dialed in, improved, optimized, just iterations of what that first 1, 2, 3 projects actually look like. And you've got all this other potential on, the retrofit side, and international markets. Is a huge, huge road ahead of you. So, yeah, great job from, where you've started and how quickly you've got to this area. Where do you think, from an outcome perspective, I think we've pretty much covered, you're solving multiple problems here. And there's clearly, the solution is the robot, but it does solve a lot of those problems. The outcome for the industry and positive impact, where do you think it has the biggest positive impact industry-wide?
I honestly think it's probably a social impact. I mean, improved worker safety. I think it can help just kind of change the narrative as of construction as a whole. With a tech element added in, and better returns on projects, more consistency across the projects, I think it can kind of destigmatize the construction industry and start helping out get more workers into the industry. Previously disqualified candidates from, laborious tasks on site, they're going to be able to work with automation in the field. I mean, you're not actually overextending yourself the same way that you would have to in years previous.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I see for automation. Obviously, there's going to be significant benefits, from just P&Ls and looking at your ROIs on projects. But I do think it's going to be a much larger just social change, and it will have a very positive, lasting impact on the industry.
Yeah, I believe so too. Yeah, I think it's interesting as well, because I think there's going to be naysayers. There's going to be people that push back about it and don't want to adopt change. And I think, that's rife in any industry, but I think it just lays the foundations for those that are willing to be open-minded and curious as to how this can benefit all parties involved. And, it's not this piece of technology that is looking to replace all humans on site and, let the robots build. It's very much still a human, this human interface actually with the machine. And it's just getting to that stage where you can say, let's give this a go. Let's figure out how we can implement one. Let's try that. Let's see the results, dip our toes in the water, and then we can look at 2 and then implementing it wider. It doesn't need to be this, not an opposing view, but it doesn't need to be something that's scary. It's proven that it's useful, it helps, and safety should be one of the number one. Well, it should be the number one target on these projects, and you're solving that. So, yeah,
Mhm.
I think spreading the message is important, and the mission of the business is clearly a good one. So, what's next for you guys in terms of the next couple of quarters? What's on the roadmap for you guys now?
Yeah, so we've taken on quite a few layout and inspection projects. So servicing those customers and getting ready for that union certification training program kickoff in July. I would say those are kind of what's going to keep us up for the next 4 months.
Yeah.
And then starting to work on some of the fun new applications that I'm really excited about. Starting to field test those. So field testing the concrete drilling. Looking at some hanger installs in the next couple of months as well. And then later this year, getting into the subsurface scanning. So, as far as development, there's a lot of fun things that are going to happen this year. I mean, we're going to be hiring some additional resources. We just closed some fundraising, so very excited about that.
Great.
We'll be able to actually better service our customers moving forward, have more robots built, more robots deployed, more robots tested. Just excited. It's going to be a very big year for us, and I'm excited for us and the customers as well.
Awesome. Yeah, you mentioned something there actually about the building and deploying the robots. So, putting, not that I'm a glazing contractor by any stretch of the imagination, but just putting my glazing contractor hat on, where sometimes you may be bidding jobs and maybe you win one or two more than you anticipated, and then suddenly your resource allocation may be slightly thinner than you anticipated. Are you running into any of that at the moment where, you've maybe got a few more inquiries than imagined and you're trying to deploy, but maybe you don't have the resources?
No, this has been kind of the exact situation we found ourselves in for like the last 9 months, where I'll say I'm not doing the best job selling the product and actually sourcing, new leads. What it's kind of turning into, and that's why I really hammered, labor scarcity. We're getting thrown projects like a month to 2 weeks before project starts, and our customer, being like, hey, we don't have the resources to actually, get this done. We didn't think this was going to go. When it did, we thought it would keep the original date. We saw a couple projects push forward from the original scheduled timelines. So it's definitely, a trend that is picking up. But, if anyone's listening to this that is in that situation, please give me a call. I'm happy to help out. It's a great opportunity for us. And at the end of the day, that's kind of like why we're doing it. Do more with less. I mean, if you only have 6 guys and you have 6 projects, get a robot with each of them and get it done.
Yeah. It's great. Obviously, if you can plan it in and you're excited about, getting you guys on board, trying the first project, but even if you're in a bit of a sticky situation where you need, let's not use the word rescuing, but I can't think of a better word, a last minute extra pair of hands, then the robot's available and ready to go.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Awesome. No, I love that. Right. I could talk about this all day, but I've done a horrible job so far with the podcast of tracking time. So I'm pulling myself out. We're going to dive into the quickfire questions. So we'll fly through these. Don't think too much about them. Just first thing that comes to your mind. We'll get to know you, the human side of you. So tell me about your favorite food.
Pulled pork, 100%. Love barbecue. Grew up in Georgia. Love pulled pork. I think it's the best.
Love that. Sports team?
Philadelphia Eagles, baby.
From Georgia, Philadelphia Eagles. Explain that one then.
Went to school at Penn State. Live outside of Philly right now. Just have been assimilated into Philadelphia sports culture. Also, Falcons sucked my entire life, so it made it very easy for me to jump ship.
What a way to jump ship as well, and then the Super Bowl comes rolling in. What are the chances? I love that. Yeah, you're winning a lot this year. Cool. So, favorite city and why?
I would say maybe not so much a city, but just a region. I love the Keys. I love Isla Morada specifically in the Keys. Great weather, very affordable. It's nice, warm, great fishing. I love fishing.
Love it. Favorite hobby? Is that fishing?
Probably fishing. Yeah. All types of fishing. I'd say, largemouth bass is by far my favorite. Also, just Georgia roots. Love bass fishing. Super fun. If anyone ever wants to go fishing, or if you want to go fishing, let me know.
Yeah, I'm up for it. Look, I'm a horrible fisher. I've probably fished once in my life, but hey, look, I'm open to trying new things. I can swing a golf club pretty well, so maybe there's some similarities there. I don't know. So, favorite book or movie?
I'll give you two books.
Right.
I think Built to Fail by Todd Zabel. Yeah, Built to Fail by Todd Zabel. And then Chris Voss, Never Split the Difference. Those are kind of my two favorite books.
Very good. Not read the first one, read the second one. Very good. Best advice you've ever received?
Probably just find silver linings in your life. Find humor every day. I mean, every day you're gonna have ups and downs. There's gonna be tough times. Just try to find something that makes you laugh, and then try to make someone else laugh. That's kind of how I approach every day.
Perspective, I love it. Number one thing on your bucket list?
Not really like travel or I guess kind of a purchase. I would love to have a farm and just a bunch of animals before I die. That would be my ultimate dream. And then a nice little bass pond on the property too. That'd be perfect.
There you go. I love that. Yeah, that sounds pretty idyllic actually. Any particular location?
Anywhere that's open.
Yeah, I love that. So if you could have dinner with any historical figure, who would it be and why?
Big history buff. I don't really think there's any one person that really sticks out to me. I'd probably say Frank Lloyd Wright, just because I love his architecture. He's got a couple houses around us outside of Philadelphia. I think that would probably be my request.
And if you could travel anywhere right now, where would you go?
Pretty much anywhere besides where I'm at. Anywhere warm and sunny.
Yeah, I've heard it's not too warm in Philly right now.
No, it's been pretty miserable. We had a couple warm days, but it's just been gray and cold for the most part.
Yeah, anywhere south, essentially.
Exactly. Yeah, give me a flight to the Keys. I'd love that.
Yeah, nice. Get the fishing rod back out. There you go. If I could give you a mulligan, so a redo on any decision you've ever made, what would you choose?
I know this one very quickly. If you have an English bulldog, buy pet insurance when you adopt the English bulldog. Don't wait for pet insurance. We pretty much had our bulldog eat one item every year for the last 5.5 years. Took us 3 years to get the pet insurance in place. Could have had a fleet of bulldogs at this pace.
But, no.
Yeah, I would say that's my one mulligan.
There's a lesson. There's a lesson for everyone listening.
Yes.
I wasn't expecting that. You've thrown me off there.
Sorry.
Cool. No, look, this has been awesome. I think we could riff on this all day. I think you've got an unbelievable solution to a very common problem that everyone's feeling in this industry. And, I think it's important that we share the message, your mission. Clearly done a great job so far in actually getting this out to market, and hopefully more and more people start to, not necessarily take the leap or the plunge, because I think we're past that stage now. But just have their mind open to this is applicable to their project and just to give it a go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think, I don't know if I can do a closing statement.
I'd love for you to do the closing statement, because then it means that I'm not going to fumble it. So let's go with your closing statement.
Okay. Just want to send it out into the ether before we wrap up. But if there's anything, any questions that you have just surrounding automation, anyone that's listening, I just ask that you reach out to me. This is where, it's helpful. It's mutually helpful. We can tell you what could be a good application for automation, whether it be in the field or in your factories. Provide some feedback, and then that's also it's helping us source new applications. We found quite a few new opportunities just based out of curiosity. So yeah, an open invite. If anyone has any questions, please reach out to me.
Straight to your LinkedIn profile?
Yeah, my LinkedIn profile, or my email. It's Conley@raiserobotics.ai.
Cool. So Conley at raiserobotics.ai?
Exactly.
Cool. Yeah. So for anyone that's got any questions there, feel free to hit Conley up. They're doing a great job. And look, thanks a lot for your time. And I'm looking forward to watching you on this journey.
Thank you, Tom. As always, you're fantastic. Thank you for the invite.
Absolutely my pleasure. All right. Thanks, Conley.
All right. Take care, Tom.
Bye. Guys, that's it for this week's episode of the Facade Focus podcast, presented by me, Tom Caldicott, founder and CEO of Unity Search, where I help glass and metal businesses hire the best talent and build their brand on LinkedIn. Now, I've worked across Asia, the Middle East, Europe, and North America, and I'm on a mission to help connect each Fassad community to give you the tools to learn and grow. Now, I'm a big believer in sharing knowledge and provoking conversation, so I hope you take something valuable from each episode that gets you thinking about how you can be better tomorrow. Remember to like and subscribe the video on YouTube and give us a 5-star rating on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. It really helps us reach more people to achieve our goal of connecting the global facade industry. Tune in again for next week's episode, and I'll see you all there.